that's the combo here that makes Ruthless really a strong contender in that genre. It's not about the big guy who takes on the little guys. It's really about the medium-sized guy who takes on the big guys. So it's nice that way too.
It's great to see you again, Dermot. Ruthless is a lot of fun, man. I had such a blast with it. And it feels so different for you to be this action hero in comparison to some of your more everyman type of roles. What about the project initially sparked your interest to want to be a part of it?
Oh, well, very much that. And then the moment I talked to Art Camacho, I was in. And you're right, it is unusual. No one's ever cast me as a lead in an action movie. So this is a really strong character-driven storyline. But it's definitely the most manhandling that I've been asked to do. And I was in the incredibly in lucky condition to be working with Art, who is a grinder for decades and a masterful fight coordinator, choreographer. So that's the combo here that makes Ruthless really a strong contender in that genre. It's not about the big guy who takes on the little guys. It's really about the medium-sized guy who takes on the big guys. So it's nice that way too.
It really is. They underestimate you. And
Yeah,
you,
that's part of the story. So it plays really well. That's what I mean. It's not, yeah, the action is organic. It's not imposed on somebody's existing persona. It's character driven.
no, I love it. And I'm actually curious to hear about the physicality that you had to prepare for. Cause I mean, it feels like so much of this is done practically with you versus, a bunch of stunt doubles. Can you talk me through some of that process?
Yeah, it was phenomenal. Of course, it was a movie made on a lower budget. We had very little time, no advanced training, really. I won't say none, but every time you're on the set with Art Camacho, you're really at school, and that's how I took it on and let him direct me, choreograph me down to the smallest motion, the most meticulous changes, real quick. Um, this is the first film where I've had multiple, probably 8 or 10 massive fight sequences. It's a brawlers movie in that long, long beloved genre. If it's Walking Tall or if it's Taken, right? So, but I guess the thing that I would pitch is that I've been in these fights at least once in every movie I've been in. A whole bunch of them flashed past me as we spoke, but this time there's it's just part of the story and it's the duration of the film. He's got to get through each of these guys to get to his student is who he's trying to pull out of this human trafficking situations.
So since you mentioned her, I do find the dynamic between you and Melissa to be a really fascinating one in that you both want to depend on each other emotionally, but you both have your own personal kind of trauma that you're trying to process in your own. What was it like developing that with her, given you didn't have, given it was such a fast shoot?
Well, it came to us naturally for sure, and we both knew our tasks and became friends. Melissa Diaz-Rey plays this student, and in the storyline, it's what we were talking about. It's framed so well, so that I'm a father without a child, which the story reveals when you see the movie, and she's a child without a father. So it's a good match. And then when she falls into the same, is taken into the same trouble as my daughter had been, um, then it's all out. It's all out war. So the guy goes to get her.
Well, it plays out really well. I love the way you two play off each other throughout the movie.
Thank you.
And
Wonderful casting. We were lucky to have her, and it makes the movie work. Yeah, yeah.
it really does. And one thing I love about your character in particular is that he walks this fine line between darkly humorous, but also just this stoic bravado. And I'm curious what that was like for you from a performance side, trying to make that balance.
Well, of course, Art and I were trying to touch into part of this genre too. Is that hard guy comment right at the end of the thing, or the tag to the scene with "I'll be back" or whatever. So it's built into these movies. Will it guilty as charged? They're trying to make some quip or some side humor out of a real situation. So I think the humor plays really nicely in here, particularly in a couple of the scenes. And then it gets down and dirty, and it's all about business. We encounter Jeff Fahey in the cast and his character with a really incredible fight working with him there. Some of the other guys I worked with are real fighters. The coach in the ring, and some of them were new at it. Like the kid that I encountered, maybe that's in the opening of the film. I mean, the actor's not a kid, but it meant that way. Who was pretty new to the business. So Art waltzed me through all these different combinations, literally and figuratively. And then, like any good action tough guy thriller worth its salt, it all comes to a climactic finish with really amazing scenes with some bone breaking.
Did you have a favorite action scene out of all of them, or is it too hard to choose given how much of the movie is action?
The thing that's so interesting, I really see it happen so fast. In other words, of course, we spent most of the afternoon shooting this one sequence or what have you. But when I'm watching it's really some really fast moves in there. So I don't know. Would I slow it down a little bit next time so you really get to enjoy it? So, but yeah, in the final fight, I think in the garage, the stairwell, it was amazing. That's the only place I was doubled. I'll admit. Everywhere else, all the rest of the fighting was me. So really proud of this movie, especially working with the cast we mentioned and with Art Camacho to make a real convincing get to the end of it. High stakes thriller.
I hope that people get to, that they take the opportunity to get it, watch it. Before I let you go, I had a couple of questions outside of the movie. Last we spoke for Gone in the Night, you undersold your role in Scream 6 pretty well, and that I was blown away by the twist.
I love it. You mean you interviewed me after I shot Scream and before Scream came out. So so I knew what happened, and I played it off.
You did
in the interview. That's amazing because I had slipped earlier on, so I guess I really was towing the line by then. Oh no, it was during those series of interviews for Gone in the Night that I let out what, of course, turns out to be a false lead for Scream.
I think it was to me actually.
By mentioning a family, a family relationship that hadn't been released yet, and Scream Paramount came down on me hard about that. So yeah,
yeah, I believe that was to me. I remember you.
Well, that was a moment. Then can I just take another moment to tell you that what I mean when Paramount comes down hard is that I got an immediate email on a chain with about 10 CCs on it with a bold print, what do you call it, the subject line. Basically saying, shut up. But now we know that even that leak was a red herring. So
it was
if you know the movie well enough to know what I said on your show wasn't true.
It was a good twist. You twisted me twice with that one.
No, Scream 6 did. Those writers and then filmmakers really just the way they turn that story around. People love it. Can't get enough of it. So that's me too now. I'm on the Scream train for sure.
Well, and actually I had a question that kind of ties both Scream and Ruthless together, in that one of the things that sold your Scream 6 twist so well for me was the moment your character walks out of what appears to be his daughter's murder scene. And that performance just felt so authentic that I thought she was genuinely dead and you were genuinely heartbroken. And in the opening of this movie, when you learn your daughter's fate, I mean, again, just such a authentic performance, and given you yourself are a family man. I mean, what is it like, putting yourself in those shoes?
Well, that's a great question. And I do just barely. I don't go so deep that I cause myself, pain or anxiety about what ifs. And both of these storylines are driven, even revenge fueled is like the term they use by fatherhood. In this case of Scream, let's just posit that perhaps he's a little overprotective and really damaged. So you can't judge how people grieve, but maybe concocting a diabolical murder spree scheme isn't the best way to grieve as a family. But in the case that you mentioned with Ruthless, those shots play out almost non-verbally, um, where you see the grief. And honestly, some of that footage Art shot, he caught it without me knowing. So I know there's a piece in there that I wasn't aware they were filming. Maybe I was just in between. So, gosh, it's amazing how real that moment looks, and maybe really was, and was captured me and my humanity, and how many stacks of bullshit there was in the Scream grieving father. So that movie feeds back on itself, so that I have to, as an actor, figure out a way to make my eyes tear and be crying right when I walk out of that door, if you can picture it, and then come toward the street. Um, so, of course, what some actors do in situations like that, maybe use the menthol or some sort of right. So, okay, guilty here, guilty as charged. I was doing so that I could be believably grieving without having to worry as an actor about how to make tears. But then it occurred to me, well, wouldn't Bailey be doing that too? Wouldn't he have put the tiger balm on the cuff of his sleeve and made himself fake cry? So it's fake on top of fake. And then I find out that I'm really doing the fake thing from the movie. So when you watch that scene out on the street, catch it next time. I thought of it while I'm in the vestibule about to leave out there, putting, tiger balm on my eye so that I would cry. I thought, well, wouldn't Bailey do that? So that whole scene where he's faking his daughter's death, spoiler, you watch me. It's on the cuff of his sleeve. In that scene, I wipe my eye like that. So that explains why he's crying when you look back on it. So that's an inside of an inside.
I love that. I'm gonna have to go back and rewatch it. I and find that detail. But I see I'm out of time, so I'm gonna have to let you go. But Dermot, great catching up with you again. And
always
again,
a pleasure. Let me ask you this: what would you recommend to your listeners and viewers to how they would find this movie so they can enjoy it right away tomorrow?
If I remember,
it says on demand. It says find it on streaming. It says VOD. But tell us, how does one find Ruthless tomorrow?
Well, it's coming to VOD digital platforms, so it'll be on things like Vudu and Amazon, and people can really dive in, especially if they're action fans. I know they're going to love it.
Great. This movie's going to have its audience from the minute they turn on the switch tomorrow, and it'll hold it forever. Everyone's dad's going to like it. It's definitely one of those movies that'll last a while, even if it doesn't, whatever, doesn't break the bank or something. It's a really great movie, Ruthless. So I'm thrilled to bring it out, and it was an amazing experience to work on.